Blessed are the meek. Turn the other cheek. Live the golden rule. Don't call anyone a fool. And seek ye first the kingdom of the Lord. It was a new way of teaching no one ever taught before. And now all these things we've heard 1,000 times or more. Still nobody takes the time to understand.
Hi everybody, this is Maggie from the Positude shows. Tonight's show will be a Positude Passages. And I've chosen for tonight's topic to be automation and things that we're seeing in the media, especially of late, regarding the A1 robot, drones, microchipping, brain chipping, things like that, and how they correlate to scriptural passages. So many of us feel that we are approaching, and in some cases, some people actually feel that we're in the first stages of the end times. Some of the things that I've observed, I feel, are definitely indicative of that. And I'm going to give you some examples of some of the things that I've come across and give you some references so that you can look them up yourselves on YouTube and see what you think. You know, with the age of technology, things are approaching so much more rapidly than we could ever have conceived of. When I was a child, we had landline telephones. You know, we didn't have cell phones or anything of that nature. And I can remember when I first got my bag phone for my vehicle, how cool I thought that was, that I was able to use a mobile unit while driving around in my car. Everything's just progressed and advanced so much more rapidly, at least than I could have comprehended several years ago. It's no secret that I'm not a technological person. I have a very difficult time working my phone, some of the options on it. I don't even know half of the options that are available on it, some of the features. And the same goes for the computer. I've never considered myself to be a very technological person, but even someone as naive and things like that can see that we've taken great leaps and bounds in the last, 20 years even. When I look at things like, drones, for example, and the accomplishments that they've been able to achieve with these things, I mean, granted, they are used as war weapons for missiles. They're used to observe things. They have cameras attached to them that can record. It's just amazing. I can remember my dad had remote control cars and airplanes and boats, and we thought those were really cool. When we were growing up, the fact that there were, RC cars, little airplanes that could fly around in a circle, just the advancement there in the area of the flying machines that have been created, to me, are amazing and fearful. I'm fearful of that at the same time because of the developments that they've made with them, having missiles attached, the way that they're able to record things from great heights. In a way, I think that's kind of cool that you can fly a drone over an area and get an air shot of something that maybe would not be reachable by foot, something that you wouldn't be able to access by ground. And so, the drones are helpful in that way because you're able to fly them around and look at things that you wouldn't normally be able to see, and from great heights as well. So, that part of it's kind of cool. I don't really take issue with that. But, the fact that we have missiles attached to them, the fact that they're being used as war machines, certainly that's obviously something that we need to keep up on with our country because other countries are doing the same. I get it, but it's scary to me at the same time. And when I look at things like that and, and these little, not just drones, but these little robots that they've come up with that look like bugs, that look like ladybugs and spiders that are able to infiltrate people's privacy and record things in the privacy of their home. The old saying, a fly on a wall, certainly takes on a new meaning when we think about the technology in the way of these little bugs that seems to be happening in leaps and bounds. And I think that there are two reasons for that. I think that there's a push to develop certain robotic devices. I think that they're on some kind of timeline to get this stuff done, whether or not it be a race between countries or if there are other underlying reasons for the rush, the push on developing these things as quickly as they have been, or if it's just a matter of technology moving forward. I think it's a combination of both. I think in some cases, for some of the things that they're developing, there are reasons that they're really on a mission to get this done and get it as developed and perfected as quickly as possible. And I think that part of that correlates to Bible scripture, and I'll show you why here in a few minutes. And when I say that, I mean that what the general public sees that these things are being created for. And then also when I pray and vision some of the things that I'm being shown that these things will be used for. Drones specifically, in the use of military, they're able to see, different bases and what the enemy is doing. I get that, and I can see its importance to it. Also, as an art form, there are many people that are flying drones and using them to take aerial photography, stunning, beautiful pictures of landscapes and aerial photos of neighborhoods and just really, really pretty things too. The police drones that they've developed, I've seen several different types of those. Some of them are kind of R2-D2 looking things that I've seen on YouTube videos and policing different areas of communities, and they're going around looking at, they're primarily where I've seen them is like parking lots and sidewalks and things like that. That's kind of weird to me because to me in the future, it appears as though those would be, and they are right now actually, replacing what police force would do, what humans would do, by scoping out territories and to look for potential crime or, parking violations, things like that. The idea of that is a little bit weird to me. It's not something that I would have thought about 20 years ago. I understand that in some areas the police forces, they don't have enough staffing, and I can understand how these robots potentially could help the police force in their crime stopping and in the protection of the people. But on the other hand, what if they malfunction? And that's been my question with any of these things, really, is what if? I tend to look at all sides of a situation, and positively speaking, I can absolutely see the benefits to developing products such as these, but also I can see the potential for disaster there. And that's what unsettles me. What if one of these things went crazy out in a parking lot and just started mowing down people? What do? How do you protect yourself from something that's like that? It's not like a human being where if they were to physically attack you or come at you, you could at least stand a chance to physically defend yourself or get away or take them down. Some of them are really, really fast. They're very powerful. I've seen some of the videos where they're extremely strong. So technologically speaking as a whole, when we look at smartphones and some of the things that they're capable of doing, and also in the instance of privacy, there have been many articles published where particularly Samsung as a company would happen to actually be the phone that I happen to own, where they can record your conversations on the phone, and the smart TVs, in which there have been many, many articles done about how they can actually record and tape you as you're watching the television set, things like that. Just, it's so Big Brother to me. It's just really freaky to me. And when we look at movies like Total Recall and Terminator, I mean, in a lot of instances, it seems as though that's exactly the way we're headed. When we look at the robots that they've developed, for instance, the A1, that really, I saw the video in which she specifically said, the man suggested to her, well, would you kill humans? And her response was, okay, I will kill humans. And I thought to myself, see, that's exactly what I'm talking about right there. That was her response. Okay, I will destroy humans. That was Sophia. She's also the robot that has been touted lately on some videos as saying that, she wants to start a family. she's been granted Saudi citizenship. That is just surreal to me. The fact that a robot would be granted American citizenship. I saw an interview with her on, if you could call it that. Can you interview a robot? Well, I guess in this instance you can. On Jimmy Fallon, where she had suggested that they play a game of rock, paper, scissors, and she beat him at the game of rock, paper, scissors. And she said to him, "This is a good beginning of my plan to dominate the human race." You know, some folks might listen to that and go, "Oh, you know, she's being comedic. She's on Jimmy Fallon. It's part of her skit." I don't know. I don't like the sounds of that personally. What is to stop these creations from going bad? You know, what is to stop them once they are created, and as they're being developed, from someone implanting something negative in them so that they basically become killing machines? When we talk about even the military, I mean, DARPA has been developing so much technology for years that we really are unaware of. I know that 2-3 years ago, there were some videos that were talking about DARPA developing a microchip for soldiers for PTSD. I recently saw an article that I posted on my Facebook about 2 years ago where they finally have come forward, and in fact, they're announcing the fact that they have developed a microchip to be inserted into the soldier's brain to, quote unquote, help them with PTSD. Well, that's really scary to me. What's to stop them from putting a microchip into a soldier's mind that devoids them of emotion and has them basically become robotic in mindset, to where if they're ordered to kill, they simply follow out their orders. You know, PTSD to me is something that should be treated spiritually and in some cases medicinally. I don't feel that it's something that should be treated by implanting a microchip in someone's head. It's just not normal. It's not natural. It's not the way that God created us. I can side with technology in the case of a person like my friend Joey, who is in the throes of death and needs a heart transplant in order to be able to survive, in order to be able to live and live a fulfilling life for himself and to take care of and support his wife and 2 children. In an instance such as that, I totally support technological advances and things like that. For instance, like I said, his was a heart transplant, kidney transplants. And I'm an advocate for that if it's in a matter in which they're saving a person's life, but they're using human components or animal components that can't be controlled. You know what I mean? To insert a chip, a microchip into someone's brain. Yeah, I don't trust it. Got to be honest. I don't trust it. I don't think that that's totally the purpose for which it's been created. We've been hearing rumors for years about how the government would like to develop these super soldiers. I've had many things that were shown to me in prayer vision in which I know that to be true, and I know that to be the case, that we're not being told all there is to know on that subject. And the fact that that soldiers are even allowing that to happen troubles me. The fact that they're on board with that, you know, that's just so upsetting to me. The fact that a person would say, sure, put a piece of metal in my head. I totally trust you that the only purpose that you're going to put this piece of metal into my head is to help control my PTSD, my emotional responses. I mean, how can they not wonder what the repercussions might be? How can they not wonder what other nefarious reasons could be involved? What other mindsets could be in control of the technological advancement and emplacement of these creations into a human's body? the RFID chip, I mean, that one's just a whole other thing. So many in my field consider that to be the mark of the beast. I have to say, honestly, I think that holds a lot of water. The fact that there is a chip that's developed that can be implanted under the skin because it's going to make your lives easier so that you have your banking and identification information right inside your body. There have also been observations that have shown that these things could be used not only as tracking devices for human beings, which in itself is scary enough. I mean, we live in a country where we're supposed to be free. It's supposed to be our God-given right under the laws of this country in which we can travel freely whenever and wherever we choose. The fact that we could potentially have something placed into our bodies that would track us wherever we go, why do we need that? Why does that have to be? If someone could explain to me why that needs to be developed and why that's important, if it's not for a nefarious reason, then I wish it would do so, because I can't see anything positive in that. I truly can't. When we think about even the use of it for criminals that are in prison, to put a chip into someone like that in case they may ever break out of prison, so that, they can be tracked, let's say, okay? What happens when their prison term's over? Are they going to remove it? And what are the repercussions of removing it? What happens after that thing's been embedded into the human body for a long period of time? I would assume, not being a doctor, but having some medical background, that the tissue would grow around it. What if the body rejects it? What if the body doesn't like it? And the people that have the chip inserted get terribly sick. I had read some articles where that, in fact, has happened, that people were getting awful sick and developing infections where these things had been inserted. What could be the positive outcome of something like that? I just can't see it. Of course, if you read, the conspiracy theory stuff, talking about how some have said that there are cyanide pills inserted into the RFID chips, in which, if someone somewhere presses the button or says the word, the cyanide is released into the body to kill the person that has the chip inserted inside of them. Well, that's really scary too. And we can go all down the rabbit hole. We can go all through the whole vaccination thing and my thoughts on that, but that's a whole nother show entirely. Focusing on just a couple of topics that we've discussed already, I can't see a positive note to that. I can't see why we need to have that in today's day and age. That's not how God meant us to be. We weren't meant to have chips inserted into us. I don't think that it's in any way for any positive outcome. Americans, as a general rule, and we've gotten extremely lazy. And the fact that we would enable or allow someone to voluntarily put a foreign piece of technology, of machinery, into our body so that we have our identification or our banking information or whatever they say that they would use it for, placed inside our hand. How much lazier can you be as an individual? Does it really take that much time to pull out a debit card or take some cash from your wallet to make a purchase, or to go online to check your bank balance, or to present your ID, your driver's license or your passport if you're traveling, or if you're stopped by a police officer, or to cash your paycheck at the grocery store? Are we really that lazy as a society that we feel that that would be beneficial to us? I just find that incredibly silly. And I think that anybody that is an advocate for that has become, and pardon me, but extremely lazy, and I think that they really need to step back and take a look at the potential bad things that could be a result of having something like that placed into the body. As far as it being the mark of the beast, we've heard UPC codes are the mark of the beast too. I think it's a possibility. I do think that it's a possibility. Have I been necessarily shown that? I can't say that I've been specifically shown that. However, what I can tell you, and again, this is difficult for me because these are things that I hadn't ever shared with a lot of people before, only some people in my very immediate circle. But yeah, every time I hear something on the radio about the RFID chips, or I see something on television, I don't watch a lot of television, but in the instance that I do, or I read something about this online, my stomach just lurches immediately. I feel very, very sick to my stomach. I feel very queasy, and I just very, 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 very skeptical of it. I get a feeling of fear. I get a feeling of dread. I do get some feelings of evil, significant feelings of evil surrounding these things. I wish that I could describe to you the way that it makes me feel, but it's a very, very bad feeling. So the potential, in my opinion, is definitely there that it is possibly the mark of the beast. But at any rate, I can tell you with all certainty that it's not something good. It's not something that can be positive to our society. I can tell you absolutely and without question that from what I feel and what I know to be true, because of the way that I feel, that it is something that is being developed to control the masses. Simply put, I don't know how else to say that. And, insofar as, are there cyanide pills inside of them that can potentially kill people? I can't say that that is the case, obviously, with certainty, but I can tell you that the way that I feel when I pray on it is that there absolutely can be something inside them that can trigger, if not that, possibly a heart attack or something that could lead to the person who's had the chips inserted demise. Mind control, also, I get a lot of feelings about that, about the fact when we have things like these inserted into the body, that they will be used, and they are being used now to control the mindset. And going back to that, with what DARPA was developing for the soldiers with PTSD, I do definitely see, and I have been shown, that those will be used as instances of mind control. So take that for what you will. I know I'm not the only person to say that. I know that I'm not the first person to say that. I can't speak for anybody else. I can just tell you what I'm shown in prayer and the feelings that I get when I meditate on it in prayer. And it's not a positive thing at all. The fact that we as humans cannot deal with our own feelings internally, and everybody's got different thought processes on that. Therapy, psychology, medicine, holistic treatment, prayer, whatever your mindset be in that realm, in the realm of post-traumatic stress disorder, just anxiety. Again, I beg you, I truly do, to really question that, to ask yourself what possibly could be the benefit of inserting something foreign into your body like that, because you're giving up all of your rights, all of your body's rights when you do something like that. The thoughts that you think, the words that you say, the feelings that you have, you're turning that over to a robotic device, a technological device to change your mindset, to change your mood. I would much rather see you drink a glass of chamomile tea or pray, or if you feel that you need psychological help and that's the only route that you choose personally to take, and to be put on certain medications, even though in most cases I'm not an advocate of that, I would much rather see you as a fellow human being pursue any or all of those routes rather than insert something foreign into your body that you really don't have a 100% guarantee that, number one, that device is going to do what it's supposed to do. Number two, that it won't malfunction at some point. And think of the repercussions of that. And then also that there isn't some sort of nefarious reason that has been placed into your body, especially if you're a United States soldier. I mean, think of it. do you really know that there's nothing else inside of that thing that could be triggered at any moment to tell you to kill someone else or to make you devoid of emotion, as I said earlier, so that you don't have any guilt upon taking someone else's life? Just think for a moment. What if that thing were triggered and you were home at Thanksgiving to kill everybody in the house? You know, I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but the idea of putting something foreign into your body that will control your emotions also doesn't sound quite intelligent to me or a logical solution to the problems that you're facing. You know, I talk to guys, young guys that are in the service, and frequently I'm told they're giving us shots left and right. We have no idea what's in them. We're not told what's in them. We're just taking them. If that's the case, and if it becomes to the point where you're told that you need to have this into your body, put into your body, or else you're kicked out of the military, I urge you to think on it, to reflect on it, to do all the research available that you can on it, not just the research that's being handed to you, spoon-fed to you by people who want you to have it, and to pray on it and to see what comes to you. And I urge you, I beg you not to do it.
Blessed are the meek, turn the other cheek. Live the golden rule, don't call anyone a fool, and seek ye first the kingdom of the Lord. It was a new way of teaching, no one ever taught before. Now all these things we've heard 1,000 times or more. Still nobody takes the time to understand. Light of the world, salt of the earth. Care for one another, but don't just love your brother, and don't lay up your treasures on the earth. It was a new way of teaching, no one ever taught before. Now all these things we've heard 1,000 times or more. Nobody takes the time to understand. God takes care of the lilies of the field. God takes care of the birds in the sky. Men of little faith who don't have time to wait. Now don't you think he'll do the same for you? You'll find. Don't throw your pearls before swine. Who hears these words of mine is like the man who built his house on rock. It was a new way of teaching, no one ever taught before. Now all these things we've heard 1,000 times or more. Nobody takes the time to understand. It was a new way of thinking, no one ever thought before. Now all these things we've heard 1,000 times or more. Still nobody takes the time to understand. Nobody really takes the time to understand.
We look at the, going back to the A1 robots, we look at Sophia, as I mentioned earlier, and the Atlas videos. Look up the Atlas videos. There's Atlas, the Next Generation. It's very, very short. What's New Atlas? And then there are ones on robot animals. There's one that I saw, 8 advanced animal robots you need to see. Check out some of those videos and see what has been and is being developed by way of robots and drones. The fact that these things are made to look humanoid, so many articles I see lately about, this will be your new sex partner. Robots are the future sex partners of those who can't find a human mate. How can that even be enticing to someone? That is just so crazy to me. Sorry, but that's just nuts to me. How would you rather have intimate relations with a piece of metal, a piece of steel, rather than a human being? Something that's made to mimic your emotions based on the cameras in their eyes looking at you and reflecting and mimicking your emotions, versus a human being heart, human emotions, human feelings, love, the way that we were created to be. How can that potentially even be enticing to somebody? I just don't get it. I don't understand it. Why would you? And that's not the way we're created. That's not the way we're supposed to be. That's not the way it was meant to be. I mean, God didn't create Adam and X1. God created Adam and Eve, right? How could you even embrace the idea of something like that? It just blows my mind. It really does. And we look at some of these robots earlier. Like I said, I gave some examples with Sophia. But if you look at the Atlas ones, some of the feats that they're able to accomplish, there was one video and it was just simply lifting boxes, 10-pound boxes on a shelf. But then there were other videos where they were striking it with like a broom handle and trying to get it to fall off balance, and how it was able to compensate for its imbalances and be able to correct itself. And there was one video where, it was scaling walls and doing backflips. And when I look at that, again, I get the feeling of dread. I get a feeling of trepidation. I have seen the videos where they're touted as they will be the world's greatest maid. They'll be able to do physical chores. Like I saw one where it just had two arms and it swung back and forth across the bottom of kitchen cabinets on like a sway thing where, it was cooking meals for the people. And there was one where it was, emptying out the garbage and doing household chores. I get it again, but really, do we really need something like that? And the fact that these things are being developed to be so incredibly powerful and so incredibly agile, I get that feeling of dread. I get that feeling of chill because I look to some passages in the Bible that speak about what potentially could be these robotic beings in the end times. What's to stop them from being created as soldiers, as war machines? There isn't anything to stop them from being developed that way. I understand that they're being touted as things that will help humanity, but the potential there for them to turn against humanity is just so incredibly obvious to me. And the fact that the robots like A1 are able to develop their own intelligence and actually be able to develop their own thought processes scares the bejesus out of me. It scares me. The fact that we as human beings would even entertain the thought of having intimate relations with a robot over another living human being. I can understand the aspect of psychological intimacy and the fact that, basically it's a way to meet our physical needs rather than becoming intimately involved or having the strings that are incurred with engaging in a personal relationship. Another human being that has feelings, the emotional investment. I can understand that to a point. However, that's not the way it's supposed to be. The fact that we were made as men and women to be together, to procreate, and to form a bond and a relationship in which we work together, how would that be possible with a piece of steel? And I know that a lot of people have said, well, it's a really good alternative to men, for instance, to have a female robot, much like the 60s and 70s blow-up dolls, right? Other than engaging in sexual relations with a prostitute, where they could be potentially opened up to sexually transmitted diseases and things like that. I grasp the general concept of that, but to my way of thinking, that's not a normal behavior anyway. So it creates a whole big can of worms because we don't want to get emotionally involved. That's the whole point of having a relationship, is to be emotionally involved, to be emotionally invested. Granted, things don't always go the way we want them to go, but if you're in a secure, mature relationship and you're married to somebody, barring physical abuse, barring mental abuse, barring life being threatened, where people are forced to get divorced, you make it work. Stick it out. You work through your emotions. You talk to each other. You talk to other people. If you're spiritual, you pray on it and you work together to fix things. You don't disengage or not engage in an emotional relationship. I mean, what's the point of it if you don't have the whole package? I don't understand that. There's also been a product that I saw that I posted on Facebook probably about a couple weeks now ago called Spire. And this woman, honestly, as you know, because of the way that I am, I get a lot from the emotions when I look into someone's eyes. And to be honest with you, this woman does not look emotionally stable from the get-go. But she's touting a device called Spire, which supposedly vibrates when your heartbeat increases, theoretically speaking, when your emotions are changing. So if you're prone to an anxiety attack or a panic attack, let's say, this device will let you know by vibrating or buzzing that your heart rate is increasing. So you're becoming emotionally upset. And supposedly the indication that the machine gives you, whether it be a vibration or a tone, I can't remember, I think it's a vibration, is how it triggers you to become aware of the fact that, hey, my heart rate's increasing, therefore I'm getting upset at this situation, whether or not you're getting angry at a situation or anxious about a situation, in which case, you could be increasingly more anxious and go right into a full-blown panic attack. That's the reason behind the development of this device. Again, where are we as a human species if we're not able to work through those emotions on our own? Do we really need a device to tell us that our heart rate is increasing because we're upset with a situation or we're becoming panicked at a situation? There are so many other avenues and ways in which we can quell that, whether it be spiritually, holistically, with the help of a counselor or therapist, if you choose that route, or medicinally, if you choose that route. But the fact that we need a machine to let us know when we're becoming anxious and we're not cognizant enough to recognize those feelings on our own inside of our body. Is it pure laziness on our part that we're just going to rely on a machine to tell us that we're getting upset or that we're getting excited? That disturbs me. Given the way that society is going, we're becoming increasingly more a race of people who are becoming lazy. I mean, let's face it. We want everything handed to us. The younger generation, so many of them are just, they have that feeling of having rights to everything without having to work for what they want to achieve in life. It's so bizarre to me. I'm not judging, but the fact that our American youth feel so entitled about everything, that everything should just be handed to them and they shouldn't have to strive for their goals. They shouldn't have to work for what they want. What is that saying for us as a society as a whole? It's very disheartening. And the fact that we need potentially a mechanical device to tell us what our emotions are, scary stuff there. It really is. So let's talk about some of these things and how they pertain biblically to what I perceive them to be biblically. Let's put it that way. If we look at Revelations, we can start right at Revelations 9:3. When I was talking earlier about the insects that were developing, the robotic insects and the drones. 9:3 says, "And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the scorpions of the earth have power." Well, when I had read that earlier in my life, I thought, okay, locusts, the real creature, the real insect, locusts that come up out of the earth. and unto them was given powers as the scorpions of the earth have power. But when I look at the technological advancements that we've had in the past couple of years, and I look at these little robotic creatures, these little robotic insects, I think to myself, wow, some of these things kind of look like grasshoppers or locusts. And, the coloring of them, sometimes they're grayish or they're brownish or they're greenish in color. And when I look at that, one day I was looking at one of these videos and it was just like, bam, something hit me in my head. And I thought, wow, is this possibly what Revelation's speaking about? Is there a possibility there that rather than them being real live insects, they're these robotic creatures? I think that it's possible. I don't know what you think, but I definitely think the potential is there. 9:7, and the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. When I read that passage particularly too, I think, well, wow, some of these robots that we're developing, some of them look like insects, but some of the videos that I've seen of them, their heads almost look kind of humanoid in nature, right? And the robots that we're developing absolutely look human in nature. And on their heads were as it were crowns like gold. When I saw that, and I was watching one of these videos, that verse popped into my head, and I'm thinking, the helmets, the way that they're developing some of these, especially like the Atlas ones, the helmets that they wore, different shapes and different colors. Could it be that the helmets or the tops of the heads of these robotic creatures are what was interpreted in the Bible as crowns? It could be. And their faces were as the faces of men. So there again, that struck me really hard because I'm thinking, a lot of these things look human. A lot of them have human features. The Sophia and the other robot that they developed, her brother or whatever, look very humanoid in nature. And some of the Atlas guys, they have faces. They look kind of like men, right? So that just jumped out at me and it hit me really hard. And I started to reflect on that. And I wanted to share that with you and see what your thoughts were on that. I think it's very possible that some of the things that are being talked about in Revelation can be correlated to some of these robotic things that we're seeing now, some of the technology that we're seeing now. 9:10, and they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. When I look at that, again, I go back to these robotic insects. I go to the things that we're seeing. If you look at the video, 8 advanced animal robots you need to see. They have fish. They have orca-like creatures. They have a kangaroo. There's another video that has it looks like a snake that purportedly was developed so that it could work on underground laboratory equipment, sea equipment. And because of the fact that it was like a snake, it could go in and out of the tubing and the piping without being, it was much more easy for these things to be able to slither in and out of the piping and the tubing for what they were working on, as opposed to an actual human trying to stick his arm in between the tubes and manipulate its arm in certain ways, his arm rather, in certain ways. Tails like unto scorpions, stings in their tails. Does that signify some of the things that are being developed now in the bug and insect technology that we're seeing, the robotic bugs and insects? Or is that like a helicopter or a drone? Stings in their tails, could that be like the missiles that they're shooting? Yeah, it's possible. Their power was to hurt men 5 months. Well, if they're missiles, their power would be to kill people as well as maim and disable them, right? But their power was to hurt men 5 months. When I reflect on that, I think, well, when we hear about the technology that's being developed insofar as mind control and paralyzing, I have read different articles that say that there is technology that's out there that can harm a person from many miles away by sound frequencies, that they're developing sound frequencies that are going to be able to be used as weaponry. And I'm sure that those things exist now. I'm saying that as far as what's being divulged to the public or what's been discovered and being released to the public in dribs and drabs is that there's absolutely technological equipment out there that through sound waves, they can destroy things. And mind control, absolutely that stuff exists. So is this what that's saying there? Their power was to hurt men 5 months. Does it mean the physical body, to maim or hurt the physical body? Or could it potentially mean to put that person or those people in a paralytic state, or potentially control their mind somehow to where they become virtually unconscious or unresponsive? Something to think about. It really is. When I look at Joel too, Joel, if we start at like 7, they shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Run like mighty men, climb the wall like men of war. When I saw that Atlas video and I saw that thing scaling the wall and doing backflips, that's the first thing I thought of was this passage. And I'm saying to myself, wow. Is this something that the Bible is speaking about? Is this what it's telling us? We read so many stories about, and I definitely have seen this. This is something that is coming to pass, and you will see. I've been shown in vision prayer many times, and I started to talk about it on the last Positude Prophecy that I did. I didn't get into a whole lot of detail, but I have been shown in prayer work, talking specifically about a research lab. And what I was shown insofar as that they are developing technology to incorporate non-humanoid matter into humans to transform people. Now, the manner in which I was speaking about it in Positude, the last Positude Prophecy, specifically was speaking to Nephilim bloodline and non-humanoid bloodline. But in the instance of this case, when we look at robotics, the fact that here we're putting robotic chips and robotic implants into human beings so that they have the potential, depending on what is installed in them, think of the old series, The Bionic Man, to have superpowers, to be much stronger than the average human, to be much more powerful than the average human, rather, to be able to do things that the average person can't do. So whether it be from lab genetic engineering and messing with that to where it's the Nephilim bloodline or foreign bloodlines from biblical texts being incorporated into men, that's definitely a part of what I've been shown. But also the robotic instance, to be able to incorporate robotic parts into humans to make them these super soldiers. That hit me like a ton of bricks when I read that. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Shall not break their ranks. That screamed out to me, because to me, it tells me that the way that I interpret it is that no matter what they do, no matter what they encounter, they're not going to break their ranks. They're just going to keep coming. Nothing can stop them. Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path. And when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. If I think about some of the things that I've been shown in regards to the genetic engineering, and also when we talk about the developments in technology with the robotics, super soldiers, they're not able to be wounded. They shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. Yep. They shall climb upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. There you go again. They're not an average human being. An average human being does not have the physical ability, typically, to do these sorts of things. However, if we incorporate foreign technology into the human body, or we develop technology that is humanoid in nature, they'll be able to do these things. In some cases, they already are. That Atlas he's making progress. He can already run up and down walls and climb things. The earth shall quake before them, the heavens shall tremble, the sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. Yeah, definitely I see a lot of correlation in Scripture when I think about these things. And so it's just something to think about, food for thought. Look at some of these videos. Look at the Atlas. Look at the A1. Look at her. Look at her when she talks. There's just something that's very striking about her to me when I look at her, because at least when I see her, I see already a certain degree of intelligence behind the robotic form. And as we're being told, these things will be able to develop intelligence on their own. That's very unsettling to me. And this is kind of weird too, but you know, I do a lot with spiritual warfare. And when I look at the eyes of a creature like that, of a robot like that, and I think back to some of the things that I've had to encounter in spiritual warfare, it's not the same, but the coldness there, the unfeeling, the callousness that's there, to me, there's a similarity there also as well, for what it's worth. So read your Bible, look at these passages, Revelations. You can go right from like 5 or 6, even right up through 10. You can go to Joel 2 and read through that. And tell me what you think. I'd be interested to hear your feedback. Insofar as my thought process, and a lot of my peers feel exactly the same way, this is very unsettling, not natural. It's not normal. I believe that the things that DARPA has been developing years ago, they've made great strides in their progress. And I fully believe with all of my heart that what is being released to the public is only a very small portion of what really is going on behind the scenes, how far they've really come. And I know that too because, again, I've been shown some of those things in prayer. When we look at just the fact that they make it seem so promising and so potentially positive in nature, you have to understand that with anything like this, there are definitely potential repercussions. I think the false sense of security that is being relayed to the people that are being considered for these mind-altering chips is that, well, this piece of technology is going to function better than your human mind will. I ask you, I beg you to, again, look at the potential adverse reactions to something like that. The human mind was created by God. It wasn't meant to have foreign devices in there to control your thoughts. The potential there for that chip to malfunction, for something to go wrong, you're voluntarily, or at least I would hope it would be voluntarily, asking for something to be placed into your brain that could do any number of very, very harmful things. It could explode. It could malfunction. There could be different things inside there that could be used against you. Is that something that you really feel comfortable in doing? I beg of you, again, to look at alternative solutions to whatever it is that you're struggling with. First and foremost, if you're a person of faith, I ask you to go to your faith and pray about it and ask for God to help you with your problems. See somebody that can help you if it's the matter of a deliverance, to help clear your issues. Most of the time with the cases that I see, you know, physical ailments they're gone after we do a deliverance, after we pray over the person. Sometimes it takes a day or two, but the physical ailments subside. Sometimes it's a week or two, but within a week or two, cancer is cured. I had a guy that couldn't hardly walk, that he's working 40 hours a week doing construction now. I had people that were contemplating suicide and anxiety constantly that aren't suicidal anymore, just by being able to do some spiritual work with them. And so you also holistically, there are essential oils, there are teas, there are vitamins. There are so many different options out there that can help to affect positively your emotional mindset. And then there are therapists, there are doctors and medications. To me, that's always a very last resort. But if you're not of a spiritual or a holistic mindset, then at least please look to that. I would much rather see you deal with that, although I hate the side effects of the medications for most of the ailments. If you look at the side effects, how many times have I said this? For a drug for, let's say, antidepressant, one of the side effects can cause suicidal tendencies. We all know that, but I would much rather even see you do something like that as a last resort as opposed to putting something foreign into your body. So that's where I am with that. We'll look to the future to see as these things develop technologically, closer and closer as we come to the end of this story. I think that you're going to see great technological advancements in these departments in a very, very short time. You know, as I said, is it because we're competing with other countries to develop it quicker or better or faster? Yeah, that's probably what they'll tell you, but I don't think that that's really the reason that this stuff is being put into place. I think that the reason that there's a push is because I think the bad guys in charge have a deadline, and think that they want things done in a certain time. I think that the quicker they can develop and perfect these techniques, the quicker they can do what it is that they're trying to do. Super soldiers, world dominance, all these things. There you go. That's my show for this evening. A little bit shorter than an hour. I hope you enjoyed the music. The music tonight, as always, for the intro and the exit, and also for the intermission, is from my buddy Pat Carr. I love him. He's wonderful. You can check him out at pwcarmusic.com. Please buy his stuff on SoundClick. He's an amazing guy. I look forward to next week. I think we have a Positude podcast. And then I think next in line would be Positude PowWOW. We'll see how that goes. I have several interviews pending. Scheduling's been quite a challenge with me the last couple of months, not only for myself, but for the people that I'm really looking to interview, especially with the holidays upon us. So many of us are so very busy at this time of year that scheduling's definitely been a problem. But we'll work it out. If not, we'll switch it out and do another prophecy. Behind on those anyway. I think we have more powwows than we do the other two shows. But thank you for listening. Please get a hold of me. You can email me at Maggie_Hart@outlook.com. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. It'll be up on YouTube as soon as possible. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm still being monitored to where you can't find me in the search bar. I have actually worked on having publicists come in and help me do something. I'm working on making some changes to be able to have my shows and my information accessible to more of the public than it has been. I'm working on some things I really don't want to divulge right now. But yeah, get a hold of, subscribe to the YouTube station and check out the videos on there. Hopefully you'll like them. Thank you all for listening, and have a happy new year. Bye-bye.
Seek and ye shall find. Don't throw your pearls before swine. Who hears these words of mine is like a man who built his house on rock.